Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Roker Report podcast in association with the Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. Gav back after Sunderland's 1-1 draw with Bristol City at the Stadium of Light. Unfortunately, yes, we didn't manage to hold on to the 3 points and the victory. We conceded a late penalty and that's why I maybe sound a little bit deflated. And joining me today, once again, to talk about this is Chris. Hi mate.
Good evening, Gavin. Looking forward to getting into it. I was looking forward to a really jolly, upbeat pod. At almost 10 to 5 and then went a bit wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I've just listened to Tony Mowbray there. He doesn't sound too deflated. I don't know whether that's just a bit of, playing the media. Did a lot of bigging up of Bristol City. And to be fair, I thought Bristol City are probably the best team we've played since perhaps Burnley, I'm going to say, in terms of the way they played the football and I was pretty impressed with them. Actually, I thought it was an even game. Point was probably a fair result, but to concede the 2 points in the way we did, it feels like a kick in the nads, doesn't it? It's I felt like I was going to be sat here talking about a good 3 points that we managed to maybe snatch, and a draw. Was it fair? Do you think?
I think it was. I think point was probably fair with the balance of the game, but. Again, it's just the way, as you said, it's just the way it happened. Let's say they got the penalty with half an hour to go and Clarke smashed one in the 93rd minute. We'd sound a lot more upbeat, even if the rest of the game was exactly the same. It's just the psychology of the whole thing and almost the lift a last-minute goal gives you, especially when it gets you a point or 3 points or whatever. So Bristol City, even though we both share the spoils, Bristol City will feel much better about the game than we will, even though, when we're saying that they deserved a point, that actually, I think on the balance of play, they actually had the better chances.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there was that really good one, wasn't it, early in the game where Patterson made a fantastic save. I know we forced saves out their keeper and stuff, and we had chances to kill the game off. But yeah, you could argue, couldn't you? I mean, just looking at the stats here now, they had 9 shots, 2 on target. We had 11 shots, 3 on target. We had 55% of the possession. We made more passes, which you'd expect being the home team, to be fair.
Yeah.
I actually think, it was a really even game. It's just, we've shaded even games before, and I thought we were going to do it again here. And it's the way we lost, where we lost the points. That is the killer blow, really, because it was an avoidable error, and we'll come on to that. But let's start a bit more positive. So the team that you picked, I mean, there was a few surprises there, maybe, because you look at the game in midweek, Luke O'Nien was probably man the match. At QPR, he didn't get a start, so there was a couple of changes, wasn't there?
It was clear that the QPR game they'd had a conversation and it seemed like it was just a one-off. It was just, let's take these players out for one game, give them a Saturday till Saturday rest, even though some of them got on and got involved. But it wasn't like in 90 minutes, where they were involved from the off. So it seemed like that was the deal, that Mowbray had this plan of just pulling these sort of players out. Because I think we said last week that it looked like Ahmad needed a rest. It looked like certain things weren't coming off for him and he looked a little bit frustrated. And it looked like all these players were ready to just come back in and he just wanted to kind of shake things up in midweek. But I still think, looking at Ahmad's performance, and we're talking about the team selection in hindsight, no problems with bringing those players back in. But it did look like certain, the likes of Ahmad, he tried a lot and, some things nearly came off and some things were very close. But there was a couple of clues, like when Ahmad almost went through and Clarke was on the other side for a switch, Ahmad didn't look like his old self where he was sharp and kind of was able to take that one touch and switch the ball to Clarke at the right moment. There was another time when he was almost clean through and I don't know whether the ball took a bobble or he didn't quite have control of it. But there's just this kind of, has Ahmad played a lot of games and did he need a couple of games? Did he need a bit longer just coming on from the bench and then he's kind of fresher for the run-in? But I mean, that's all in hindsight. Before the game, I had no issues with any of the team selection.
No, I think I've just sort of accepted with the amount of games we've already played and the games we've got coming up, we have to make changes. You can't expect to pick what he perceives as his strongest team. And to be honest, looking at the team he picked, I would imagine this isn't far off it, if it isn't already his strongest team. But you can't look at that 11 and then go Saturday, Tuesday, and expect them all to be able to play at the peak of their powers. They just can't. I know it's a bit different for defenders because maybe they're not exerting themselves as much as some of the forward players, but we've got a lot of lads there who it's not just about the physical side of things, the mental side of things too, where you have to sometimes give them that break. And I was thinking about this after the QPR game, although he did talk about resting players and stuff, the ones he rested still came on. So it's not really a rest, is it? It's not. I know it's not having to play 90 minutes of football, but a lot of these lads don't play 90 minutes of football anyways. A lot of them play 70 minutes, 60 minutes, and then he brings them off. So, have they really been rested? I know it's tough because you've got to get your best players on the pitch at some point. But I don't know. Although I think Michu had a really good game and I understood why he came off, I don't think I would have took 09 out, to be honest. I can see the logic. I know what he's probably thinking. He's probably thinking, this is the game. When you're at home on the big pitch, get your players on who can move the ball. I totally get that. And to be honest, you look at the team that Bristol City picked, they picked a team to try and counter that. They didn't play with any strikers. I think they dropped Wyman and forget the name of the other lad who came on. Wells, and there was another forward as well who also came on. Cornick, yeah. So, They left their strikers on the bench. They came to knowing that they were probably going to be running around a lot. So it makes sense that Michu played. And like I say, I thought he played really well. Dan Neil coming back in made sense because he's one of our big players. But I don't know. It's all right saying it in hindsight. If I'd been sat here and we'd won 1-0 and we hadn't conceded that penalty, maybe I wouldn't be highlighting these things. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't necessarily got a problem with the team selection at all. I just have a problem with writing it down to we're resting players. If we're not actually resting them, they're still coming on. They're not getting any time out of the team.
I know what you mean. And I think that there's got to be an element of that home and away and expecting, when you go away from home. And to be fair, in periods of the QPR game, actually, especially early on, we were under the caution. We had to kind of ride it out a bit. And the likes of 09, those players who came in helped us get through that period where QPR put us under pressure. And like you said, I think at home, if you're expected to come out and you're expected to play, you're going to put Michu back in, you're going to put Roberts, Ahmad, Clarke, that's going to be your three behind the striker. But Bristol City came and Bristol City fought and they battled. I thought at times it was they made it a bit of a kind of slog in midfield where they tried to step onto us on the ball, they put us under pressure, but there was some great tackles going in. I mean, it wasn't all football. Mm-hmm. I think I was going to say, one of the things I was going to say regardless of the result, but especially when I was going to say when I thought we were going to get the 3 points, was that all the players really dug in. I thought Bristol City were really tough side physically, and we had to stand up to them. Michu and Neil in midfield, they took some hits. They actually gave it out as well. Michu, with that kind of double tackle where he took a couple of players out, I thought was brilliant, and it's great to see Michu doing that. But was a slog as well. It wasn't just all kind of just playing the football.
Yeah, no, and I think the forwards all got stuck in as well. Maybe not so much Clarke, but I think Ahmad and Roberts in particular, they were grafting, and it was, as always, Danny Bart just brilliant in the air. I can't remember a player as good as him in the air in a Sunderland shirt for a long time. Just wins everything. He's so good.
Maybe Ballard.
Well, but see. Well, there can't be much between them. What I like about Ballard more so than Bart. Bart understands his limitations and he won't do this. But Ballard, if there's a ball to be won, he makes sure he wins it. He attacks it. If he's got to barge through 3 players to win a header, he'll do it. And it's a really, really outstanding trait of his. Like, very old school defender, I would say. But yeah, there's probably not a lot between them when it comes to how good they are in the air. Just sort of a really gritty performance. We had I wouldn't. Tony Mowbray talked about it after the game again, like I say, and talked about how Bristol probably came and expected to be doing a lot of running and a lot of chasing after the ball and stuff. But I think that was only part of the game. I don't think this was us at our best. I think you're right to highlight maybe Ahmad and a couple of others. Like, there were times when the football was lovely and the flicks were nice, and Roberts was nutmegging people. I thought Roberts had a great game, but just I think some of the interplay didn't quite work at times. Probably being a little bit picky, but I'm on about our standard has been so high recently in that regard that this was a little bit of a step down from that, but not enough for us to be concerned or anything. I just think there's maybe some tired legs out there.
There was, and look at the last four fixtures: Millwall, Reading, QPR, Bristol City. I mean, we've done fantastic in all of them, and they've all been tough physical games. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
really tough. Millwall was really tough. Reading did the dark arts. QPR was, 3-0, 3-0. I mean, it didn't flatter us, don't get us wrong, but it didn't kind of give the full picture of the game. QPR really kind of tried to hit us hard. And Bristol City, that was a tough game as well. But I mean, just on that kind of, I mentioned Ahmad. I mentioned, we've talked about Clarke a little bit already, and Roberts as well. 3 or 4 nutmegs. I think he was counting them, but he might be on. I don't know whether he's on bonuses for megs or not. But
Have you ever,
I mean,
can we just on that quickly? Have you ever seen a player do it as often as he does? It's crazy, isn't it?
no.
There was one where he passed it to Gelhardt and he really shouldn't have. He should have shot.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like he makes it look easy. If anybody who's even played five-a-side with their mates knows how hard it is to nutmeg somebody, and he makes professional footballers look like mugs every week by doing it.
Yeah.
It's a proper skill, like.
Patrick Roberts is a footballing genius, and his touch was superb throughout the whole game, other than when Clarke played that unbelievable ball to the back post.
Oh
And
God,
I don't know
yeah.
his touch. But anyway, I just want to come back to those three again. I mean, like I said, Patrick Roberts a genius. All those megs. I mean, as you said, making professional footballers look like complete like Sunday league players. And the only problem I have with them is, and this is again, it's kind of nitpicking at the same time as being fundamental. I mean, in the 90 minutes, we didn't create enough chances for their talent.
No.
And I don't know whether that's a consequence of Ross Stewart being out, because that's a massive loss, to any side. But the three of them playing behind somebody, they're trying to, they're trying to provide to someone, and if they were used to what Ross Stewart did, and now they're not. But Gelhardt, he doesn't look kind of match fit in terms of that sharpness. He's not played a lot of football. He needs a run of games. I think it's going to be 4 or 5 games until we see Gelhardt really as a footballer, how when he's looking really sharp, because you can see he works his arse off, but it's not that I'm talking about. It's kind of that sharpness on the ball, his first touch, how he gets a shot off, all that sort of stuff, even the runs he makes. But for the talent of Clarke, Ahmad and Roberts, and the things they do on the pitch, I just think there needs to be more end product.
Yeah, and I think I said this about Roberts the other week. I think if he can add to what he already does with end product, he's a Premier League player every day of the week. Yeah, problem is with Roberts is he doesn't get enough chances in front of goal. Maybe doesn't create enough, doesn't get his shots away enough. I think it's improving though. You can say it's improving. But I'm thinking about that one again. That one where he passed it behind Gelhardt when he'd already done all the hard work, and you're thinking just shoot, and he passes it. And I mean, if Gelhardt gets the ball and he scores, nobody's complaining. But I think top players in that moment, they shoot, they don't pass it.
But with that one, Mishu was running behind him on his right foot, ready to pull the trigger, and Gelhardt took it off his toes. So I don't know who Roberts was actually aiming for when he pulled the ball back.
I mean, but I think I say it was just. I think some of the interplay was good. It just wasn't quite at the level we've known recently, and it's understandable. We've played so much football recently, and these players, we're asking quite a lot of them. I think, looking ahead to Tuesday, I think that's maybe why O'Nien didn't play. I think, there's going to be changes regardless. He's trying to manage the team. For this one, it was a case of get all the ball players on. I totally understand it. Like, it is what it is. But I'd say the game didn't really flow the way I wanted it to. I felt, particularly first half, it was. I actually think they were the better team first half. And first 25, 30 minutes, we just weren't at it, really. And, it was... We did have our spells in the game, but that first half, when you're expecting us to maybe put our foot down a bit and really drive it home and maybe try and get the early goal and try and dictate the tempo of the game, I don't think we did. I know Mowbray hinted that he felt we did, but I don't know. I don't think we did. And I don't know what that was down to. I mean, you could maybe put it down to a little bit of tiredness or something. I don't know. There's just, it didn't flow in the normal way. And we can't be at it all the time. I get that. Young team, young players, we're asking a lot of them. And to be fair, when we do start slow, we seem to come into the game anyways at some point, and we did. So it wasn't a concern again. I'm just, I'm just looking for reasons for why we maybe didn't take the advantage earlier.
Yeah. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. That first half was poor. Basically, it was a poor first half. I mean, we didn't press them enough. We weren't kind of, the tempo wasn't there. But we've said this a couple of times with that. I don't think we started the QPR game very well, to be honest. I mean, and I don't think the tempo was there then. But we just built it up gradually in the game. And the same happened against Bristol City. We started off slow, and we ended up, Mowbray had to have words at half time, and then we came out, and the tempo was well, after first 5 minutes of Bristol City, they attacked first 5 minutes. But after that, once we settled down, we got our tempo back. But looking at that first half, I mean, looking at the kind of the notes I've got in the first half, the best chance was that kind of half chance that Gellard had that Clarke put across to him. He was kind of in the 6-yard box. He either put it wide or straight in the keeper. I can't remember. I think he might have put it wide. But I mean, that was only a half chance. But and this is what I'm talking about. The talent of those three players. And that was the sum total that we created in those 45 minutes. And even though they did the megs and they took players on and they did the 1-2s, that if that's the sum, we need more as a sum total of what we create than that in 45 minutes at home.
I think that's maybe one of the frustrations I've had with Jack Clarke recently. And I've talked about this, he can play poorly but then he comes up with what he did, That goal was outstanding. And in the hour preceding that, I thought he was really, really poor, actually. I don't think anything he tried came off. He kept doing the same thing, which was what got him the goal in the end. I mean, you could say that, eventually it paid off, the persistence, but he was driving from the left inside when the fullback was tracking him fairly well, and it just wasn't coming off for him, or, when the easy pass was on, he maybe wasn't playing it. And to be honest, even after he scored, he kept doing it again. So I think it's just something we might have to accept with Clarke, is that he's gonna have games like that, but you've got to leave him on the pitch when you need a goal, because he's got something in his locker that I don't think anybody else has. That thing I'm talking about with Patrick Roberts, where I think you need an end product now. You're very good at all the fancy stuff, but you need an end product now. Clarke's the other end of the scale. His all-round game isn't particularly great, but his finishing is outstanding, and defenders keep giving him the opportunity to open his body up. And I mean, I saw a replay of the goal back, and the fullback shows him onto his right foot, which I was surprised at, because that's all Clarke really has, is his right foot. Shows him onto his right foot, and he's made to pay for it. But his performance in general, I thought he was actually quite poor. I thought to be honest though, his off the ball stuff was maybe what rankled with us a little bit. Just I don't know if he goes in as wholehearted as some of the other lads, but maybe I'm just picking. I'm not. I mean, again, he's played a lot of football. I think he must have started nearly every game this season. So if he's feeling a little bit tired, then I wouldn't be surprised either, really. Yeah. But yeah, as an attack, you're totally right. I don't think it's, and you wouldn't expect this yet, by the way, but I don't think it's gelling yet with Gelhardt, because he's only played a few games. I don't think he really suits playing as a lone striker. I don't think the rest of the lads know his runs yet. To be honest, I don't think he knows what he should be doing with the other players yet. I'm sort of seeing them come deep and doing very well off the ball when we haven't got the ball, and chasing people down, like, fantastic. But when we have got the ball, is he making those runs off the shoulder of the last man? Not really. He wants it into feet with his back to goal, which is quite strange for a small player. He's got pace and stuff. You'd think, get on the shoulder of the last man, get the balls over the top like we do for Ross Stewart. But I think, again, it would probably be unfair to expect that to mesh right now, because these lads have played 2 or 3 games with him, and he's not started a lot of football. So we're still learning.
Like you said with Jack Clarke, that performance by Jack Clarke basically summed up the whole conversation that has been going on for the last few weeks, and will go on for as long as these players play for Sunderland. Because for me, it's a similar conversation with Jack Clarke as it is with Ahmad, as it is with Patrick Roberts. Like, they're going to try so many things, and they're such good players that, let's say within games, and I'm not going to, we'll have to go with the stats, but let's say 70% of what they do isn't going to come off, or might not come off. But what you're waiting for is that 30% where they whip a ball in and hope someone's onto it, or they do something and it ends up in a goal. But it's those players where they're going to frustrate you for an hour, and then suddenly he's going to cut inside and smash one in the top corner.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how you've just got to accept that with these players to say that's what they are. They're not going to because if they did their thing, I mean, would for 90 minutes we'd win 10-0 every week. So you've got to
And they wouldn't be
accept,
playing the Championship either. That's the other
exactly
thing,
that's why they're playing with us. That's why the Sunderland players on the Gellard thing. And I mean, I talked earlier about his fitness, but the other thing for Gellard that's going to be difficult is, and I think even as we watch as fans, the likes of Clarke, Ahmad, Roberts, is that they hold on to the ball longer than most attacking players, especially because they know they can do these defenders in the Championship. So they take one on and they might cut back and take them on again, or they might I'm going to go on a little run here. I think it's going to be really hard for Gellard to understand when these players release the ball and actually when they play the pass, because Gellard might be expecting it and going, oh no, he's taking another one on. Oh, I'll make a different run now. Oh, he's cut back now. Okay. So Gellard's got to kind of work out what they do, and whether that happens on the training pitch or whether it just kind of clicks in games. But again, I think that might come with Gellard's sharpness and fitness, but he's got to get used to these players, especially Clarke. He'll cut across the pitch, take 2, 3, 4 players on before he'll play a ball. And, Gellard's got to get used to that. It's not a traditional winger taking his fullback on and getting the ball in quickly. Mm-hmm. So Gellard's he's got to take a while to fit into this team.
Yeah, and I think he strikes me as the type of player who would probably fit a team that plays on the counter and maybe sits a little bit deeper and soaks the pressure up, which might mean we see better performances from him away from home, because obviously you traditionally don't have as much of the ball away from home. I think he just needs a goal, to be honest. I think he did everything in QPR apart from score, but he had a really good game. Didn't work this time around, but it'll come. I think Martin the other day did a really good job of summing up sort of Gelhardt's position at the minute. It's probably similar to Clarke and Roberts last year when they came in that they came in with no real sort of momentum because they hadn't been playing football, and it takes time for that to happen. I guess for him, he gets the benefit of having a lot of minutes on the pitch, so he will score at some point. We have no other forwards, and the lads behind him are doing a good job of taking the pressure off in terms of the goals and stuff. So, it's not like we're sitting here waiting for him to score. We're not sitting here going, come on, where is it? I think he will get time and patience, initially at least. So, it's not something that concerns us.
Yeah. And just before we leave this first half behind, because it was a poor first half, but like I said, the comparison, our best chance was probably that half chance Gellard had in front of goal, which he squared wide. But just mention Patterson's save, because I mean that was an incredible touch onto the post. I mean, that was only 20 minutes into the game.
I thought they scored there as well, even from the other end of the pitch. It looked like it was in.
Well, with the way it came off the post, it actually span as if it normally goes in, and it managed to kind of curl around the other post. But to get a hand on that, I mean, unbelievable save, just enough to get it onto the post. But again, I mean, we're talking about getting a point, being disappointed with getting a point out of the game. We could have easily gone behind with 20 minutes gone.
Yeah. And just a word on Patterson's performance too. I think similar to QPR, I quite like how, some of our criticism of him recently has been he needs to command his area more, he needs to come out and claim balls, and I think he did in midweek, brilliant job of it. And again here, I thought you can see something he's trying to work on.
Did you notice that one? I was thinking of you actually. One of them where the ball went looped up in the end of the box and he charged out. And punched it out. He went with his knees. He went up. He went. I'm having
that's
that.
What you want.
And he punched it.
That's all I want to see from him. I think it's just. Again, I keep saying this, but it's true. He's a young player and he is still learning on the job. And I'm pretty sure that if we're noticing things he needs to improve on, that his coaches are working on it with him every day, and that is a big thing that he needs to improve on. But I think in the last 2 games, it's been noticeable. The shot stop, you just mentioned the shot he saved, brilliant. Like, that's Patterson's forte, the shot stopping. It's the other stuff. But yeah, second half, I think we improved after half time. I think, first couple of minutes, Bristol City had the lion's share of the ball, and I thought they shaded it. But the goal which we scored, we might as well skip straight to that, because, like I say, it was much of a muchness the first 15 minutes or so. It was a lovely bit of play actually from Gelhardt, wasn't it? I think he done a really good job of holding up the ball, played a pass which, from where I was sat in the ground, we thought it was just about to be cut out. It looked like there was maybe not quite enough on it. And in the end, it ended up being perfect. And like I say, really strange defending from their right back to show Montewi's right foot, considering that's pretty much all he's got. And yeah, it gives him the half a yard he needed just as he got inside the box. And the goalkeeper never stood a chance, did he? It was an unbelievable strike. I mean, we keep talking about how we could have a goal of the season competition on our own.
Yeah.
Just on goals that Sunderland have scored in the Championship this year. And this was another one. It was an absolute perler. It's very similar to maybe the one he scored against Fulham. And yeah, another really good goal. And like I said before, that's why you leave Clarke on the pitch. The lad who sits in front of me, it must have been 2 minutes before he scored. We had this exact conversation because there was in the southwest corner, and there's a fella a few rows back from us arguing with another fan who's in one of the boxes. They want to kick each other's heads in, all about Jack Clarke, because the bloke in the box is standing screaming about Clarke every time he lost the ball, and he did lose it quite a bit, screaming about him. And the fella turned round and he's telling him to shut his mouth, get behind him and all this. And anyways, it all kicked off. And then we got talking about it, me and the fella I sit next to, and I says, look, that's why you've got to leave him on the pitch, even when he's playing like this, because he can do what he's done in the last few weeks, and that's just get shots away and score goals. And when there's no Ross Stewart on the pitch, you need players like that. Lo and behold, 2 minutes later, he gets half a yard and he sticks at top bins. And the thing is as well, when a player starts scoring goals like that regularly, that is confidence. He's going to keep trying that. He's going to keep trying it, and it's going to happen and happen and happen. And like I say, I can sort of forgive his all-round performance when it's not great when he's doing that, because we need goal scorers in our team, and he's certainly one of those.
Yeah. And a couple of things, I mean, you talked about confidence, but I mean, it takes some kind of mind to go through that. What was it? Because it was about on the hour mark. So he's had an hour of just nothing going right. There was a pass there where he tried to switch, which he just completely skewed, and it went out of play. And he had his head in his hand. He was bashing his head against his hands at one point, and then to just then get the ball, pick the ball up, take one touch inside, smash it into the top corner. I mean, that takes some guts to say, and it's not quite going right, and it's not my day, but give me the ball, keep giving me the ball. You know, he wanted it, and you've got to hand it because a lot of players in that sort of crowd where there's maybe that, is the manager going to bring us off? Am I going to get hooked in a minute? You know, they say kind of shouts from the crowd, maybe he needs to come off. He picks the ball up, and you know what he did when he got the ball, and everything he did, he made the whole thing look so easy. I mean, the goal looked like a simple goal. I mean, but it was anything but. You know, he made the defender look like an idiot by cutting side, and then, like I said, get a shot from the edge of the box like that to not give the keeper a chance right in the top corner. But again, this conversation is going to go on and on and on and on. People are going to get frustrated, and people are going to ask, oh, you know, do they need to come out the team because nothing's working? But that's what you wait for. You wait for that moment where they make it look simple and we get a goal from it.
Yeah. How do you feel we managed the game from that point then? That little period from sort of us scoring the goal, and then obviously the penalty decision, the decision to bring off Michu, the decision to bring off Gelhardt, to maybe go a little bit more defensive with Luke O'Nien in there. I think Luke O'Nien played quite well, actually. Pritchard was busy, but I actually think, you know, Michu had been arguably one of our best players to that point. So he probably count himself a little bit unlucky to come off, but you can sort of see what Mowbray was trying to do. He was trying to make us a little bit more compact and solid. But was that the right thing to do with only one goal?
Well, I mean, in hindsight, you can maybe say no, but looking at the actual game, you know, just purely because of the result, and they got back into it. But, you know, it was only 2 minutes after we went ahead, 2 or 3 minutes after we went ahead, where he made the change, he made the first couple of changes. But then after that, the period after that, I mean, you look, you know, with about 15 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, Roberts had that really good chance. The keeper made a really good save. Then he had that long range shot where the keeper made that really weird save with his right hand, which first looked like he come off his knee, but then it turned out that the keeper had a good save. We also had that chance where Clarke played the ball to the back post, and I just thought Roberts is going to take one touch and knock it in the corner. So actually, we almost had our best period between the substitutions and kind of the end of the game, and we were keeping the ball, and, you know, our confidence looked up, and, you know, Bristol City struggled to get possession, but it all boiled down to that one split second of lack of concentration in the end.
Yeah, and look, I mean, let's skip straight to that than the penalty decision. It was a penalty. Don't think there's any arguing with that. But in the build-up to it, Hume could maybe have a claim to say that he got fouled. But the problem is right, even in that situation, if you do think you got fouled, or you did get fouled, you don't then put your hands on the opposition player. Soon as he touches him, the player's going to go down and the ref's going to give the penalty. Don't give the ref a decision to make. I was talking to Kelvin, Roker Reports Kelvin, talking to him on the way out of the ground, and he summed it up well. Once you give the ref a decision to make, then he's going to make it, especially at that point in the game. You just lunacy, really, to raise your hands. Let him go into the box. Someone's going to block it, or he gets a shot where you've got the goalkeeper there. You're basically handing them the point on a plate when you do that to me. But I don't want to go in too hard on Hume because I think he's been excellent for us. I think he's been consistently brilliant for a long period. But I thought Mehmeti, who played on the wing for them, had his number and was brilliant. And I was actually glad when he got took off around 70 minutes when they had that spate where they brought 3 strikers on. He came off, and I was actually glad for Hume because I thought pretty much every time they went toe to toe, the Bristol City player came out on the better end of it. But I think although, regardless of that, I think Hume actually did all right, though. He still got stuck in and still done everything he's pretty good at, getting stuck in, putting his foot on the ball and advancing forward and stuff. Maybe didn't get forward as much as he normally does, but that was maybe the other side of things when you're on about young defenders and stuff. You're going to get rash challenges like that every so often, and it was soft, but you don't touch the player, do you? He doesn't raise his hands, and it's not a penalty.
No, I mean, you're talking about giving the decision, the ref a decision, but to be honest, I think it was one of the easiest decisions that the ref will have to make when it comes to penalties. I don't think there's any debate. I mean, we could talk all day about what went on before that, but look, if the referee didn't give whatever happened before that, so Hume's got to kind of react to it, and he got caught on the wrong side. The player knocked it past him, but Hume's not slow. He was quick enough to kind of get back and at least make him know he was there, so to put him off on his cross, which that's half how it turned out. In the end, that actually, kind of Hume almost brought him down after he played the ball, but Hume, he was that desperate to get back, and he put his arm across him, which I thought was going to be an initial foul. And then when he did get past him, he kind of almost, well, in a sense, he kind of half rugby tackled him basically, and kind of didn't give the referee a chance. But and the ball ended up going straight to Patterson, which was even more annoying. But look, I mean, Hume's been fantastic, and I thought it was just a really good battle between him and that winger. And I thought it was kind of 50-50. I thought they both got the better of each other certain times, and I thought it was just a good battle. And it'll be just like Dan Neil earlier in the season, just like some of the other young players who've made mistakes earlier in the season. That's what they're in there for. They're going to learn, and they're going to come out. They're going to come out better players, and Hume will learn from that. That we're playing really well. His confidence is up, and then suddenly, that split second, and the whole thing turns because you didn't have that concentration, and the winger got by you. So it's a learning curve, but we haven't got any complaints.
No. Actually, I'm maybe being a little bit harsh putting it down to age, because Luke O'Nien had a brain fart not that long ago, which cost us points. Even experienced players make mistakes. It's just something that happens in football. It is a sickener when it happens in the 93rd minute of injury time, of a lot of time. It's one of those, isn't it? If that happens 10 minutes before, you maybe you're not as disappointed, but it happened when it happened, and it was a real kick in the nuts. But like I say, they had the penalty. Natty Wells steps up to take it. Great penalty. Yeah, absolutely brilliant penalty that Patterson couldn't have done much about. And they take the point home with them back to Bristol, and their fans, got to give them a word, by the way. I thought, not often do you look up in the away end at the stadium like these days and see that many fans there. And it's a long old way from Bristol, so fair play to them. They at least got to go home with something in tow. But I think Mowbray, after the game, I don't know if you heard him, he seemed pretty relaxed about it all, and we've got to get over that quickly. And I just hope it doesn't affect Hume too much. I don't think it will. I think he seems like a strong lad and a strong mentality, and he's probably went in there and he's kicking himself for giving the penalty away, but I don't think he'll let it bother him for too long.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to get over, though, other than, a last-minute goal is always horrible. But apart from that, I mean, in terms of a performance, I think the result is one thing, and we could have come away quite easy with those 3 points, but it's not a bad thing for Tony Mowbray to kind of reflect on this and say, well, if we play as we can and kind of at times, had that end product that we've talked about, the game would have been out of sight, and we wouldn't have relied on getting through injury time and not making a mistake in injury time to get 3 points. So this isn't a disaster. It's not the end of the world. It's, we got a point against a very good Bristol City side who played very well. And the fact that we're in a position to be disappointed is also a good thing. So it just tells you where we are at the minute.
That's why we're disappointed, because I think we just got used to the feeling of winning and that churn of good results and scoring goals and all the rest of it. As an all-round performance, it wasn't great, really. But that's because our standard's been so high recently that I feel that way. A year ago, if you showed us a tape of this game and said, look, this is how you're going to play in a year's time in the Championship, it's still a night and day better than anything we've had in a long time. Some of the interplay was good. It just didn't all come off. Few tired legs there, but I think that the Rotherham game on Tuesday, he's got to make changes just because we've got another game Saturday dinner time. And then we've got another game after that, the weekend after that against Stoke. But we have 2 games now in the space of the next 7 days. And he's got to manage the minutes of the players. And the Rotherham game isn't going to be like the Bristol City game. It's not going to be on a big pitch because Rotherham's pitch isn't big. It's not going to be a technical game because Rotherham are a big, physical, quick team, as we've seen over the last few years in League One. It's a totally different game. We're going to need to ask a totally different set of questions of the players because they're going to have to go there and physically compete, and it's going to be taxing, it's going to be tough. So I think O'Neill will probably come back in. Could we maybe see Pierre Ekwa start a game? He seems to be trusting him quite a lot from the bench, but is he ready to start? I don't know. Mishu, certainly he had a proper rest in midweek. He didn't even make the squad. And you could tell. I thought he was great. Neil didn't get a proper rest midweek. I just think that this may be the chance, and I'm not saying you can toss a game off because I want us to win every game, but this is maybe a chance to rest people who actually do need it. Maybe bring in Sirkin for Elise, a couple of little tweaks here and there.
It depends because I'm just looking at Rotherham. Rotherham are obviously fighting for their lives down the bottom. It depends what Rotherham are going to be like. And are Rotherham one of those sides at the bottom where they're kind of down there, but they try and keep trying to play football, or are they just a real kind of get the ball forward quick, tough in midfield, got the players in midfield, and all this sort of stuff. So if Rotherham are going to give us the space to play, we might well see Mishu and Dan Neil in there again just to kind of play our game and do that sort of thing. If it's more, if he thinks it's going to be more of a physical game, then he'll get 09 in because like I said, the next 2 sides were played each other. Rotherham played Coventry at home, and Coventry won 2-0. So which means Rotherham are in the crap now. They're only 2 points above the drop because Huddersfield and Blackpool beat Stoke as well. So it's getting really tight at the bottom. Rotherham are fighting for their lives. It's not going to be easy. I don't think we can expect to, even though they're down there, to roll over these sides because they're going to put up a fight. It's down to us to break them down. I think if we get the first goal, we can make an easy shift of it. But it's all about us kind of getting that goal and taking control of the game. So again, I'm not completely clued up about Rotherham, but I suspect Tony Mowbray will be weighing it up like that in terms of ball players or getting some more bite in there.
Yeah, I'm just looking. They've scored two goals in the league in the last 8 games. So you've got to be going there and thinking you can win.
Yeah. Get an early goal, and it's done.
Yeah, because they aren't great in front of goal. I've said that. I've put the mockers on us, haven't I? Yeah, but I think if you're a team who actually want to get promoted and want to finish in the playoffs, this is one you got to win. Don't care that it's Rotherham. I know the last time we played there we got battered, but it's a different Sunderland now and it's a different Rotherham. Totally different. We have a lot of positive momentum. They've obviously got a lot of negative momentum because they're at the wrong end of the table. They lost a few players in the summer and stuff who helped them get into the Championship. So to me, that's one we've got to win. But I do think we can afford to make changes like we did at QPR. I just think that there's a right time to change things up. This is the right time to do it. I think it's a game which will suit Luke O'Nien because we're going to need that physical presence. I wouldn't be adverse to starting Ekwa. He has to start a game at some point, so why not against a physical team who are down the bottom end? It's a good test for him because he's a big lad. You know, he's dipped his toe in the last few weeks and came off the bench in pretty much every game since he came in. Let's see if he can maybe do it now in a league game alongside an experienced pro no Iron. And I think he's got enough. He's got goals in him too, as we've seen from his time in the under 21s. He likes to get on the ball and to get forward and shoot and gets his shots off from the edge of the box and stuff. So this might be a game for Ekwa, and then that gives us a couple of days to get Dan Neil and some of the others maybe fitter for the Coventry game, which we're going to need them for.
Well, like you said, that's a tough game. Coventry have won their last two, and there's only a 4-point gap between them and us. I mean, they're down in 11th, but there's only 4 points between us. I mean, they take. Let's say we both win in midweek, and that's a big one at the weekend. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a tough game, but you've got to win them all. There's no good. Like you said, I mean, there's no good kind of focusing on Coventry saying that's a tough game, and then taking the eye off the ball when we come to Rotherham, and then we slip up at Rotherham, and then. You know, we don't go into the Coventry game with any momentum. So I think, I know it's going to be cheesy, but, you know, Mowbray is only going to be concentrating on the Rotherham game and seeing how they shape up. And I think the thing is for the running, like players like Ekwa, Lehaji, you know, these players are on the bench. They need minutes to be useful in the kind of running to the end of the season. So, you've made a good point that where do you get them the minutes? And if it's maybe not in a game against Rotherham who's struggling and can't score, then where is it?
Yeah, so that would be one definitely for me where we bring in one or two. It's a game we should win. 3 more points would take us, you know, perhaps even further up the table. You know, let's just think positively. Let's stay on the ball. Let's not think too hard about the fact we conceded a late penalty, because I think Bristol City, one thing we haven't mentioned, they are unbeaten in 11 games now, so they're a good team. They're in a bit of a false position in the league, really. That, you know, they are a lot better than the position suggests. We've seen it firsthand. As Mowbray pointed out, they're a young team. They're energetic. They work hard, and they brought some good Championship strikers off the bench late in the game, which helped them get the goal back. So they're a decent team, and we can't feel too disappointed about the fact that we didn't beat them.
Yeah, I know we've talked about us a lot, obviously, as we do, but I hope it comes across that we have given Bristol City credit, because I think you really have to give them credit with the way they're set up against us. And like I think you did at the start when you said I think only Burnley have kind of looked as good as them and really kind of put us under the cosh as much as they have. So you've got to give them credit. And when you come up against a side like that, yes, it shouldn't have happened the way it happened, 93rd minute. We should close it out, but overall, Bristol City probably deserve something.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's probably just leave it there, Chris. We'll be back. We'll be back in the aftermath of the Rotherham game with another pod, I'm sure. We've got all the regular post and pre-match content for that game on rotereport.sbnation.com. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We are pretty much everywhere, so make sure you're following us across all your social media platforms if you're that way inclined. And yes, we will catch you after the Rotherham game. Catch you later.